Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 11th, 2023 Bloomfield Hills City Commission meeting. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item we have is the consent agenda. And I note that the regular meeting held on June 13's minutes are included, and there is a slight amendment to them. I suggested a change to the St. Hugo approval that we made, indicating that the sign was not readily or easily visible from the street instead of just not visible. So, do we have any questions on the consent agenda from the commissioners?
I had one question. Sandra, we wrote a check for unclaimed property. Is that right? What's that for?
So if checks aren't cashed, then we notify whoever the check was made out to. If we don't hear a response, we turn it over to the state.
Okay, yeah, you have to give them so long, right, to do it, and if they don't respond,
They're old checks.
they hold the checks with it, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
I have one question on the finance. So we have over 500,000 surplus for the year that just ended, it appears. I know it hasn't been audited, but is any of that building funds, or is it all general fund increase?
There is building revenue within that.
Okay, so it isn't all non-allocated funds.
Right, there are restricted funds included in that number.
Okay, thank you.
I had, I'm sorry, did you have another question? Oh, I forgot, I had one more. Brian and Dave, so I noticed on residential, 2022 year-to-date compared to 2023, we're down quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I mean, inspections were at 355 and we're only at 117 this year. Two, we're only at 115. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
So residential, it's gone down, but yet I saw on commercial, it's about the same.
Yeah. And last month, what I said was we've issued more bigger permits from a dollar standpoint, more new construction than the smaller permits.
Oh, so you're thinking the residential is more, going to be more for new construction as opposed to, so do you think, you know, additions, repair, things like that are slowing a bit this year then?
The smaller stuff, but the bigger projects, we have more new houses under construction than I've seen since I've been here for 9 years.
Really? Oh, that's,
And we have more coming in.
okay, all right. Okay, that's good. I just wanted to get your opinion and see what you're doing. Are we, okay. I think that's all I had questions on, sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
That's all I had questions on was, oh, I take it in the letter, you said you were talking in your report, Director Gormley, about the fire truck, right?
Yes,
And that's what everybody sees out there?
that is the new fire truck.
When do we get to go up the ladder?
Yeah. We get a
So
ride?
as soon as the meeting's done.
You have to go through firefighting 1 first, though.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I don't think we have that. So is it ready and up and going and,
It will be in service completely August 9th, so part of purchasing a truck and getting it is part of that purchase fee that you pay is training from the manufacturer. So they are coming out this month and doing pump testing and aerial testing 2 different times with the entire department. And then we're currently already working on driver's training. And it takes a little bit of time to get all the equipment on the truck, so we're put the hose on, and we have to, put brackets on to hold the equipment and that. So that's what we've been doing this week as well.
You have to have driver's training for a new fire truck.
Yep, you have to have driver's training by law for every apparatus you have.
Good to know. Good. Well, they must be excited. That's very exciting.
So it is very exciting. It's a beautiful truck, and it looks like it'll serve us well.
Good. Good, nice.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on the consent agenda? Comments? We ready for a motion?
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is recognition of citizens in the audience. And this is for your time to raise any question or comment, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda. Please raise your hand, wait to be recognized, and then state your name and your address, and your comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any questions or comments? Yes.
Good evening, I'm Donnie Steele, State Representative for Bloomfield Hills, and I'm not in session right now in Lansing, so I just wanted to make sure that I showed my face to one of your meetings, and if there's anything that I can help you while I'm in district over the summer, please reach out to me, because I'm available through August in the district. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to hear all the great things going on in Bloomfield.
There's lots. Do we have any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay.
I just had a question. Is this one of the representatives that we've sent a letter to regarding the noise on Woodward? Have you received that?
I don't believe so.
I received it.
Okay, I mean, obviously, all the communities on the Woodward corridor have been sending letters, and maybe the attorney can even mention, because we're trying to get some legislative changes, not just us, I mean, it's Birmingham, everybody, so that officers would have some more tools to address the noise on Woodward.
I would be open to reviewing that letter and seeing how I can help. And
Maybe,
But I will get with her. I have her contact. We've already
Okay.
spoken. We
Okay.
actually spoke about the Woodward noise, so we will follow up with her.
okay, all right.
thank you.
Because that is something our residents are very concerned about.
And I do know they did approve in the budget that Troy did get funding for a wall along I-75.
But, yeah, no, we're
Yes.
not talking about a wall. Right now, as you may be aware, it's difficult to write tickets except for reckless driving and speeding. You can't address noise just for noise. And so we're one of the few states that you can't do that, so it
On
needs
Woodward.
to. On Woodward.
Just on Woodward, and as I understand it, Dirk, correct me if I'm wrong, the state statute has not been updated since the 1970s.
That's correct.
And it needs to be updated to reflect the type of equipment the vehicles that are being driven, as well as the type of equipment used to measure the sound, which is why our officers are handcuffed right now and cannot write
Just
tickets.
as proposed language to do that.
Yes.
And as a comment too, I live on a small lake. They say electric motors only, but with times have changed. Electric motors only, you can go 40 miles an hour, and that's not what they wanted. And so they do need to change with time, like what you're saying. When they wrote the ordinance or the laws, it probably didn't reflect the cars at that time, like similar
Well,
to the bus.
it's just I don't understand why it's such a big deal to the people in Lansing, because to me, it's just doing your job to update a law so that it's meeting the standards of the current day and age, so that you can write tickets. Otherwise, I don't understand what
I
the
think
big
it's a lot
issue
of the
is.
aftermarket companies that are lobbying against it.
Spoilers and, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that sell the aftermarket exhaust systems.
Mhm.
And it only used to be like the Woodward Dream Cruise that week, and then it was 2 weeks, and then it was the month of August, and now it's whenever it's not raining. So it's become.
And they did change the laws for like the fireworks for the same reason.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that would be a similar.
Oh, that's a good analogy. I like
Yeah.
that.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there's no other questions or comments. Let's move on then to Item number 4 on the agenda, the commission will consider the request of the property owner at 150 East Long Lake for variances from the sign ordinance to construct a new sign for the development. And this came before the Planning Commission earlier today, and it was approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Madam Chair, my name is Eric Peach with Gibbons Webster, the city's planning consultant. Item before you is 150 East Long Lake Road, which is a request for a ground sign proposed within the public right-of-way of East Long Lake Road. Adjacent to the property shown on your screen, this is the property that's zoned B1 multifamily residential. It's an existing multiple family residential complex. And a few months, years ago, an automobile accident had demolished or destroyed the existing ground sign that was located adjacent to the property. And so what's before you today is the replacement sign. The variance is for approval of it being within the right-of-way. Otherwise, the ordinance requires the proposed sign to be located behind the 25-foot setback. Property lines are shown in red on your screen. The existing sign was located here, and when that was destroyed, it was found that to replace the sign in that exact location, you can see here on your screen, that existing sign structure was encroaching into the utility easements, more particularly underneath is a water main easement. So I, as well as the city engineer, we met with the applicant a few months ago to begin conversations about how to approach this type of application. We asked for a survey to confirm the types of utilities that would be in the area. The pink line here shown is overhead wires, and then you can see the area colored in blue is a water main easement of 10 feet, and then another water main easement of 10 feet shaded in green. So the area shaded in brown confirms that the pre-existing sign was in fact encroaching into the utility easement. So the application did receive approval for permit from the county road commission. One of their stipulations was that any structure proposed in the area is no closer than 12 feet to the paving section, which is this dimension here. So what's proposed is a 13-foot setback from East Long Lake. So this is a structure that that will hold the sign, the dimensions of the area where the sign will be located within the 2 columns to be 5 feet maximum. The signage here is for the name of the property, and then of course the address on top, both in compliance with the color scheme required by the ordinance, gold letters and black background. So again, the setback is 13 feet. So in front of the sign structure will be this area of a planting, which will allow for 12 inches or a foot further setback, so that that area will also not encroach into the utility easements. With that, that concludes my presentation. The Planning Commission, as stated, did approve the site plan, and so this goes before the City Commission for approval to be located in the right-of-way. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I don't have a problem with this. I was just curious, was there a reason they were doing it parallel to the road versus perpendicular?
I don't have the answer to that. The applicant is here for any specific questions. Do you want to?
We actually created the sign that size and took it out to the site and drove with the homeowners that live there to determine the angle and the placement for best visibility. If we were to go perpendicular to the road, it slopes dramatically, and the visibility wasn't, it took it further back. So
Okay.
having it just with the way the road angled there, it seemed like it made sense to have
Okay.
it one side of it.
That's fine, I was just
Yeah.
curious why. I don't have an issue with this.
No. Do you need a motion?
We ready already? Okay.
I mean, does anybody have any other questions?
No, we were, Alice and I were there and we were.
Oh, you
fine
were
with
there,
it.
so
Yeah.
you already spoke your piece?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove by, I'm fine with
You all
it.
set?
I'm fine with it, yes.
Sarah, you okay?
Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the property owner's request at 150 East Long Lake for variance from the sign ordinance to construct a new sign for the development with the new setback of, what'd you say, 13 feet?
Yes.
Of 13 feet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is carried.
Thank you.
We get a new sign.
At long last, it happened last March.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 5. The commission will consider the request of the property owner at 39475 Woodward Avenue for variances from the sign ordinance to construct new signs on the site. Actually, it's a new sign on the site right now, isn't it? The request was amended at the planning commission to eliminate the sign B on the wall, the logo
Oh,
on the
great.
wall.
Very happy to hear that.
Okay, next item is 39475 Woodward Avenue. This is the existing hotel site of the DoubleTree, and they're proposing a name change to the Kingsley. And as was stated, the initial application came before us to propose 2 signs. As you can see on the lower right-hand side of the screen here, there's a proposed main sign above the porte-cochere, and then there was a logo sign. And as of earlier today, the applicant agreed to remove the logo sign per the discussion with the planning commission.
Well done.
So our focus this evening is primarily on the main sign for the Kingsley. This is just a representation of what's there currently. Again, it's the DoubleTree name, and then the logo for DoubleTree on the porte-cochere. So this has been in discussion over many months, and most recently back in February. The idea was for both signs to be comparable to what's existing today. And so with the first 2 applications, as you can see here from January, the area of the sign was approximately 79.3 feet. Compared to what exists today, that's significantly larger than the 69 square feet of the DoubleTree. So it exceeded the height standard and area standard. And then in February, they reduced the size of the sign so that it complied with the ordinance, that being a maximum of 2 feet for the height and then an area of 20 square feet. So after the February meeting for Planning Commission, there was some discussion about why the sign was not comparable to the ordinance standard, or to what was currently there. That was mostly pertaining to the logo sign, but the applicant has stated that by shrinking the main sign, that it would not be visible from the street. And so that's why they came back, or coming back today, with a sign that's more in line with the existing DoubleTree sign. So that being 69 square feet existing, they're coming in slightly below that in order to demonstrate that they don't intend to worsen the existing nonconformity, and that a sign of this dimension would be feasible for visibility from the street. So again, per the Planning Commission meeting earlier today, if you look at your review letter, on the first page there's the outline of the different variance requests. So to simplify, we are removing the first variance, the second variance, and the fourth variance. Those are all in relation to sign B, which is the logo sign. So what the City Commission would be considering now would be item 3, item 5, and item 6. So that would be item 3, to allow a sign height of 3 feet in lieu of the 2-foot maximum allowed for sign A. And then item 5, to allow a sign area of 67.5 square feet in lieu of the 24 square feet allowed for sign A. And then to allow a sign to be mounted at a height above the ordinance standards for the identification sign A. So the end result, if approved, would be this image here minus the logo sign, which will not be pursued. Yes, ma'am.
The lighting, it says it's in compliance, and that's the similar to the lighting that already exists, is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah, it'll be backlit.
Okay.
Is that what it shows here on the simulated night view?
Yes.
Did the planning commission?
The planning
What was it?
commission approved 3, 5, and 6, those variances.
And the applicant agreed.
And the applicant
To
agreed
that.
to remove sign number B, sign letter B.
Okay.
And, let's see, I don't think there was any other. I think it's consistent with the dimensions of the current signage up there, correct, Eric?
Right. The idea, again, was because the existing sign is an existing nonconformity, the idea was not to exceed that and to come in as close as possible to those dimensions of that existing sign. So just to confirm then, the two dimensions that we're comparing here are the existing 69 square feet and then what's proposed is 67. So it's slightly less, but the idea is to have it relatively the same size.
So we're grandfathering in the main sign,
I'm sorry?
kind of grandfathering in what was allowed originally for the main sign. but-
Yeah, the way that I would explain it would be not worsening the existing nonconformity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had, Sarah, I think you and I were on the planning commission when we were discussing this the first time. And they had first come to us with mini signs and mini non-conforming, including streets and everything. And then they came back and, you know, I remember us settling on this of the DoubleTree as long as they took out all the other ones that they were asking for, right? Yeah,
Yeah, no, because they eliminated a number of other
they did, yeah.
other ones that they were asking for. No, I mean, I think this makes sense. It's not increasing the nonconformity. I think this has been a laborious process to get here. And I think, you know, Planning Commission was asking for more information from what I understand and finally got a clean, something that's, I think, acceptable. So I would make a motion to approve the application as approved by the Planning Commission.
Can I ask before you do that, is it the applicant in the audience?
Yes.
Can I ask why you went back to the Kingsley?
Why did we go back to Kingsley?
Hi, I'm Alan Green, I'm counsel. They've been working to try to get the hotel to go back to Kingsley for a while now because it's an iconic name. Everybody still calls it the Kingsley, and they finally were convinced to do it. So the hotel's not changing. It's still going to be the same brand, but it's going to be the Kingsley. So they agreed to actually have a name on the hotel that's not their name. So,
Which is what was suggested when
Well,
he suggested that
The day he
years
referred to as
ago.
Hilton, just to be clear, we would have called it Kingsley from the beginning, but Hilton insisted that it be the DoubleTree.
Right.
And after 3 years, we finally convinced them of the error of their ways, and they're now allowing us to do what we would have preferred.
I'm glad.
It's rare to have a hotel company not have their name on the hotel, but
Right.
but they've been convinced to do it. So there's no change in the actual hotel, the operations, ownership, anything like that. They're just allowing us to go back and use the Kingsley name.
Okay.
But we're rebranding it for that.
We were told before that they had to have the DoubleTree on there because they needed it for the booking of the hotel. I think, and as Commissioner McClure said, you know, I never like to say we told you so, but we did tell you so.
But the folks that are here, you didn't have to convince.
Right, I'm sure you prefer it as the Kingsley.
That's good.
So my motion again was to approve sign A as approved by the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried. The next item on the agenda is the commission will consider the results of the RFP for fire hydrant painting and award of the bid to Superior Excavating, Inc.
Thank you, Mayor. Previous discussions with the commission, the administration was given a direction to put out an RFP, a request for proposal, to paint our 560 fire hydrants. So we did so by placing it on the Michigan Intergovernmental Network, which is a common bidding network for municipalities. And we received 3 bids back. Only one of those bids was a company that has previous municipal experience. And that same company actually works with us yearly, or last few years at least, on a road project. So we have a relationship and you know, some history with their product and their responsiveness. And I believe that they have the capability of getting this project done. So we're asking that you award this bid to Superior Excavating.
What about the other two? They're not, you don't feel that they're qualified to paint the fire hydrants?
So what we did was we had Amy contact or look at the references and contact the other bids, and after some discussion with Amy, we just didn't feel like we don't want to create a mess for the city where there's 560 fire hydrants to be painted, and so we felt that because of this company has municipal experience, their technique is a little bit different. Each one of their techniques is a little bit different, but their prior experience has been successful in other cities. So we're basing it upon, our recommendation is based upon you know, the experience that we've had with them and their technique and their ability to get the job done with the least amount of you know, disturbance for the residents.
Do they have insurance, and we've already established a relationship with them, and
Yes.
they have insurance?
They
and
do. But of
everything?
course, we would put a contract together.
Yes.
And we would have Dirk review all that. And then if you give if you were to award this bid, if you gave me authority to sign the contract after Dirk reviewed the contract to make sure everything is appropriate.
And these fire hydrants would be in the MDOT right away, some of them? None of them?
Some, no, not all, because
Some of
there's a
them?
lot in the residential areas, so those are all city right-of-ways.
But the ones in the right-of-way, in the MDOT, remember, we have that requirement from them that if we use a contractor, that they
And that
have
would be
to-
part of our review.
Yes, that would have to be included
Yes.
in the insurance
Yes.
and the indemnification language relating to MDOT and all of their employees. And
So this is the first step. There'd be more work to do to make sure that those folks are have the proper insurances and indemnification. But
Did you have any more questions?
Are they not responsible to paint them? I mean, if it's a state road, does,
no, it would anything with our water mains, even if it goes through county
Oh,
roads
sure.
or state roads, would be our responsibility.
Do we have is this in the budget, Sandra?
I don't think we called it out, or did we have it listed?
Well, this
It's
is
kind of one of the.
water and sewer. This is
It is
water and
water.
sewer funds.
I thought it was in the project.
But
I thought it was in the,
did we
I thought it was
put
in the
it on
project
this?
list. I'll look that up right now.
Is it in the water and sewer fund?
Yes, in that project list, I think we included something in there for that.
I believe so.
And what about a warranty on this? Do they give us any kind of, you know, they're not gonna all chip apart next summer?
By warranty, it's part of it in there. I'd have to review it.
It's typically a 1 year.
It's a 1 year, typically.
Really?
that's all?
That's it?
Well, they haven't been painted in probably 25 years, so they'll probably last a while, I think.
whoever did it the last time did a good job.
Good job.
Yeah. Guess we need to find those people.
So the only ones who have ever painted fire hydrants before of the 3 bids we received was Superior Excavating.
For municipalities, and this type of level of scope of a project was only Superior.
I mean, I don't want fly-by-night college kids hired for the summer to be painting fire hydrants, so.
That's what I'm afraid of. I mean,
Yeah,
do we
but
know
if-
who's doing this?
Well, that's my point. So
Your point,
we have
Commissioner.
$47,000, the lowest bid. I think this is the highest, the 67,000. And the second one is just slightly lower at 64,000. The problem with the first two is we don't know who they have. We do know with Superior, they're a company that works with municipalities. They work with us. They have large crews of people. Their standards of painting these fire hydrants made sense to me. You know, some don't use certain types of paint. They may use, you know, like a Sherwin-Williams, whatever. These folks use the fire hydrant paint specifically made for fire hydrants. They have, their bid was to clean them and power wash them, and so that's all part of it. But you know, a couple of the main things for me was that we have this history, and I'm concerned because we have 560 fire hydrants, a lot of which are in people's yards. That you know, we may have a mess on our hands if we don't have somebody that's been doing this before. And so I'm thinking for the best interests of the city, this money's taken out of the water and sewer funds. We have CapEx funds that's you know, that we collect for these types of things. So.
David, well, let me add one thing. I think Superior is the only one on that list. There's also Oakland County's as-needed water and sewer contractor as well. So they do this work for Oakland County and their other communities as well. So yeah, they're probably, not that the other folks are not qualified. These are just the most qualified and probably going to give you the best service.
The last time we talked about this, I don't know if it was you, Dave, that mentioned it, but there's a way to identify or find all the fire hydrants. The fire department is able to locate them.
Yes.
Without having to visually necessarily see them.
You're right.
So between then and now, has something changed, or is this is more or less a cosmetic?
It's actually something I believe the commission brought up, and I think it wouldn't be a bad thing. All those, and I'll tell you why, is we have GPS for all these fire hydrants. We know exactly where they're all at. Now, does the public safety department go out to each one of these fire hydrants and, you know, clear them out all the time? Probably not. Are they winterized every year? Yeah, they are. But it might not be a bad idea to go out there and repaint them and make sure they're all working, you know, they're all able to get into them. As far as when they winterize them, I'm not sure if they go through a whole process to make sure everything works. I guess they do, but it might not be a bad idea. But there is the aesthetic part, and I kind of brought that up last time. There's the aesthetic part. You're going to have shiny, bright red fire hydrants all over the place. Maybe that's not a good thing for you.
Yeah, now they kind of disappear. They're so rusty.
Right.
They do disappear.
I
Wait a
didn't even
minute.
know we had one in our neighborhood because it was all rusty. There is
So
one right there.
are these people going to paint and inspect them, or just paint them?
They're going to paint them, but they do something where they make sure that the threads and all that, you know, so you can open them up. So
They're not painting the things shut.
Right. They're not painting. Good point. Yeah, they're not painting shut.
Which college? Which
Cleaning the rust
some other
off.
They clean all the rust off of them, and they paint them in such a way where they protect the threads, and so that I guess that part of it wouldn't be a bad thing because they are in a way that's somewhat of inspection, but that's certainly something for the commission to consider. We've never had a problem with a fire hydrant ever. The public safety department has always been able to find them and use them. So it is more of an aesthetic thing. They do get winterized every year, so we know that they're, you know, will be functioning. Oakland County does that for us. They maintain our water system. So it's really up to you.
I mean, it probably makes sense if they haven't been painted in 25 years. They will, you know, because
Yeah.
if you don't paint them at some point, they're made out of
They're metal.
They're metal, they'll just rust. So we should paint them. They will stick out, which maybe visually will be a little different for a while, but
It is a best practice.
Yeah.
It's a National Fire
Yeah.
Protection Agency best practice. So I can tell you, I can add that.
yeah. And I would assume like DPW or public safety, when the first 10 have been done, can go and make sure they didn't paint them shut or anything else that we need to.
Well, I would have some of our staff, I haven't figured that out yet, but I would have some of our staff, you know, kind of supervise and
Right.
inspect it.
Because this bid and the one right behind it aren't that far off, but the low bid would have concerned me because if you divide that by the number of, that doesn't really give you enough time to clean one and check it and wash it and paint it. You know, so I think this is a situation where I don't mind going a little bit higher to get hopefully better quality
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, we just, we don't know the other two folks. If we had some testimonials from other municipalities that would use these folks, this would be a different story. Because I would always personally look for the lowest bid and then qualify
Right.
that. The problem we had is we couldn't qualify those two.
Okay.
And so that's where we're at.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve for the fire hydrant painting and award the bid to Superior Excavating Incorporated not to exceed $67,200. And after a review of the contract and agreement, that everything is satisfactory with insurance, bonding, things like that. So a thorough review of the contract. Derek, anything more?
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item is item 7. The commission will consider approval of a donation from Cranbrook Educational Community.
Mayor, I was approached by Cranbrook Educational Community with a check for $10,000 that they wanted to donate to the Public Safety Department to purchase active assailant response equipment. I accepted that check and with the understanding that we have to follow our policy. But before I brought it to the commission, I talked with Chief Gormley, and he agreed that there is some active assailant equipment that could be purchased. I then checked with our finance director in our 5-year capital expenditure plan and noticed that in 2025, that was actually part of it's most likely going to be part of our request to buy active assailant equipment for the cost of $20,000. I then talked with Chief Gormley again. He said he could utilize at least half of that equipment sooner than later, and so therefore filled out the appropriate form and passed it along to the commission for their consideration. And I think Chief Gormley could probably talk to the use of that equipment more.
The equipment that we would use if it was approved by you would be to buy ballistic vest helmets and shields that we keep in the cars. These are different ballistic vests than officers wear daily. They're for high-risk situations, as in a officer school shooting situation that's actively taking place, that they wear, and they have ballistic shields and also ballistic helmets. The lifespan on most ballistic equipment is roughly 5 years from the manufacturer. We do have some of those. We'd like to add additional because unfortunately society is changing and active threats are going up in our communities, and we've had several issues that we've responded to either mutually, in the area. So that's what we would use it for, is to buy new equipment, and it would be in the cars, so it's readily available for officers as needed. Hopefully never needed, but in the case it is, that's what we want to prepare for.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Cranbrook Educational Public Safety donation.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion's carried. All right, that takes care of all of those matters. Now we'll hear city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to mention that our chip seal project in the Trowbridge subdivision is pretty much complete. I believe what we had to do is after the chip seal went down, we had to adjust some structures so people aren't hitting ruts or the structures aren't too high. I believe that has been completed today. And there's some restoration. I think a majority of that's done, but there might be a little bit of that. I drove through there. I mentioned in my past weekly report that it seems to work well. It's a pretty firm road, and I think it's going to help our Department of Public Works from going out there and grading that all the time. That never seemed to work too well. It always would get mushy and wet, and it just took them a lot. It was like a never-ending battle. So I personally am pleased that it's done, and I hope that the commission is pleased too.
I agree, I like it. My only concern was in the winter when they plow it, will it have any effect on the surface of it, I think?
So we talked about that, and They are supposed to do something with their blades to counteract the blade up a little bit more, but I'm concerned about that too, because they have their trucks, some of their trucks with the center blades, they don't really move much. And so, yeah, that's something we're gonna work on to make sure that doesn't destroy that road. I think the road can be fixed actually easier than asphalt when there's problems that do occur, which I see, because we actually, after fixing some of these structures, if you did that in an asphalt road, that would be a much bigger process. You have to cut it out, and this, I think I could see as a better process. So 2 coats went down. There's going to be another coat, I believe, next year, and that'll be 3 coats. And you know, supposedly it should work. Hopefully there won't be a lot of traffic. I drove through there. I don't feel comfortable driving very fast on it. I'm not sure how anybody else feels when they drove through it, but so I think the speeds hopefully will be kept down. But we're going to actually, the public safety department is actually going to spend some time in there to monitor traffic and make sure that nobody is speeding through there.
Do we need to buy
I would
a-
ask that maybe the city or HRC maybe gets out there during a rainstorm and watches where the water actually goes, because sometimes all it takes is a little bit of a berm or something to divert the water toward one of those drains where it just shoots right by. And if the more we can get into the drains, the better chance we have of the road not washing out.
Okay.
Because once you get a bunch of water flowing down that road and you can't get it off the road because there's really nowhere for the water to go, it's just wherever it ends up, it's going to wash it out.
I know even on one of the drains built on Brady Lane is higher than the road, and so water never goes in it.
Oh,
So.
Yeah.
I would agree. I did notice, I think just over the years, all the grading and everything, there's just, it's almost like it's all cupped
definitely
in there.
improved. It's definitely improved, but I think it might be worth it to go out there, the umbrella or whatever, and watch where the water goes, because if it's just bypassing the drain, that's going to be a problem somewhere else down the road.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
For the plow, is it a different blade that is needed? I mean, not that the city wants to buy a different blade for just those
Well,
you
streets,
have to
but
buy a different plow. That's what
Well,
I'm
we
concerned.
Yeah.
have a plow that has a spring on it, and it has some forgiveness. On some of the bigger trucks, they don't have as much forgiveness. The big salt truck with the blade in the middle, I'm a little concerned about that. But you know, I don't have an answer on that yet, but we will find an answer.
yeah, I just hate for the road life to be shortened because of
Sure.
plowing, particularly, if the road is convex, we don't want it to go concave, over time
Yeah,
either.
it is somewhat convex.
Because they're supposed to be stayed convex, right?
One of the things we did though, that I think is going to be helpful, Commissioner Baxter, is all those drains were vacuumed out and cleaned out and exposed actually, which had never been for years and years. So there's going to be some value to that, but I completely understand what you're saying. So let's make sure that since they are useful, that we get the water to them. Okay.
Have we heard from the residents at all on their feedback with it?
Yeah. Well, I haven't.
I mean,
personally.
besides you two.
Yeah.
I haven't personally, but the folks out there and the DPW staff have heard a lot of positive. Surprised, some of them, like they didn't understand what it would be like and look like, but nothing negative. Some thought it'd be more like an asphalt road. Others thought this is great. And so.
It looks more like a gravel road. I think it really maintains the character of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Sandra, how are we doing with the assessments from the neighbors? Neighbors that are affected?
You mean collecting the
Yeah,
funds?
uh-huh.
So we only send out a notice once a year. So we have collected everyone's, at least their installment, and then more than half paid, roughly half paid the full amount. So we'll send out another notice in December for the next installment. I think there's like 26 residents still that just paid the installment, so they'll get another notice.
And that's over 5 years, is that right?
I think it was 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I want to mention, Mayor, is that our audit search process is going well. Sandra's got a really good plan. She has some folks that she knows, and She has gotten other recommendations, even from people that we know, like our municipal bond person, Robert Budzinski. And so we've got some good leads. Sandra's has done some interviews, and I think this is a good thing. You know how things happen, and
For a reason.
right.
They're
And-
getting out of the municipal
I
auditing.
think-
It's kind of like they're shedding their municipal clients.
I'm not sure what's happening, but they bid themselves out of a job, and they weren't that interested in working with us. So you may have sensed in one of my reports that I just said, we're going to move on. And so that's what we're doing. And I like Sandra's plan. She's got a great plan. She'll have something for August.
I think
Either to consider.
Representative Steele, we had our people who have been doing our audits for our city.
Plant Moran.
Plant Moran for years, just came up and said, we're not doing them anymore.
Well, no, they
had a 50% increase.
Yeah,
Yeah, they gave it,
But
but,
they've grown from 10 years ago being a smaller
yeah,
to now they're the largest accounting firm in the state, aren't they now? I don't know, they're doing a lot more than just municipalities.
Oh, absolutely,
You know, they're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
large
And they're doing-
corporations and.
Right, they're branching out.
Can I make a comment? Orion, right before I left, they wouldn't bid us either, so.
they're getting out of it.
And
yeah.
we actually went with Yo and Yo. That was who we ended up switching with. And I happened to hit Orion Township's meeting, and they did an excellent job, so I don't know if that's
I'm
something.
sorry, who was
Yo
it?
and Yo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're one that I reached out to. I'm waiting. for
Yeah,
their
good to know.
result.
All right,
Well,
thank you.
That's good intel.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, other business. I wanted to just mention that Amy and Dave and I attended the Oakland County Ad Hoc Transportation Committee meeting on June 26th. And one thing that I think that came out of it that sort of disappointed me was because we had been led to believe that there would be these flex services that our residents would be able to avail themselves of. And the lady from SMART who spoke, what was her name?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't remember her name, but anyway, she's.
Harmony, yeah.
Harmony?
Nice
Yeah,
name, Harmony, yeah.
Harmony Lloyd,
Yeah.
yes. She said that, no, that was sort of a test project. It was only available in Farmington Hills, Troy, and Pontiac right now. They didn't have any
That
current.
was not fair for them to present it, to
No.
sell it to the voters like that.
No,
That's
they
really
did.
wrong, yeah.
We were given a whole presentation on it in one of our meetings a few months ago. But,
Well, she was in here
yeah.
talking about it.
She told
and
us, I was all
presenting it and-
excited. But the other thing that Harmony from SMART said was that even if it was in a certain location, it isn't really that helpful because it's limited to your just small circle, small community. So if you have a doctor's appointment outside of your community, you can't even use Flex for that purpose.
I don't, who's making that decision? I think that's something that we can press them on going forward because of as I said before, of the $20 million extra that SMART's getting with that millage that we all just voted on, $1 million a year is coming from the city of
Us.
Bloomfield Hills.
Yes.
And, I think the majority of residents, it was 5149 or something like that, have said they want it, but there were things like that were
Yes.
kind of presented as being
Yes.
part of it. And I know you're not finished a report, but I'm a little concerned because, they'll say things like, oh, we're not going, in one meeting, you and David that have attended that have sent out a report to us that, well, we're not going to see any bus stops for years, and they're using our money to
Right.
pay off unfunded liabilities,
That's-
Yeah.
that weren't our responsibility.
Legacy costs.
So but I'm kind of at the point, if we're giving them that money, have them put in the bus stop where we, one or
want it,
two.
where we can use
that
it.
We want them to do it now. It, can just be the sign. We're sending them money, let's put in these one or two, which we've talked about in the Kingsley Dietrich area where the light is, and then.
Where we can ensure that it's safe.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
Well,
just.
can we ask
just
them to set
last-
aside a fund with just our taxes that go towards
It
ours?
doesn't work that way, it's a whole authority.
Yeah.
There was an accident a week and a half ago at the corner of Lasser and Maple, where a pedestrian was crossing a street. There was no crosswalk where he was crossing, and he was hit by a car, and he was seriously injured. I don't know what happened to him. They took him to Beaumont, but I saw a press release from the Bloomfield Township Police Department the day it happened. And, you know, we don't want that to happen here.
I guess it's just, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like the reports from the meetings you've been attending, you're getting conflicting information depending upon who's speaking. So either it's years before we see anything and our money's being used for other purposes right now, or, you know, they presented the flex buses as an option for our residents to use for something like doctor's appointments, but now they're saying, no, it's really not going to be implemented. So
it won't be rolled out to anywhere else, and she said unless their consultant tells them that it's advisable to do so.
But we can go to meetings and ask for these things, I think.
Yeah.
We thought, to begin with, so there was information, or there was email sent to Amy and I about, you know, a plethora of bus stops. And our concern really is the safety component of this, and how, yeah, if there's needs to be bus stops, you know, in different places, that's fine. But we thought that we should start at the Long Lake and Woodward area.
Exactly.
And SMART has somewhat conceded to that, to start there. But our next step, we thought, is to talk with MDOT, and we're trying to arrange that, so that we can see how MDOT sees the safety component of this, of building or approving an appropriate crosswalk.
Right.
And how the access gets to these two stops, you know, the stop on northbound Woodward at Long Lake and southbound Woodward at Long Lake, and how people get across Woodward. That's our main, this is our main focus right now. And then I think once you get that going, and then talk about the flex thing. But boy, I mean, at first it was kind of a, you know, shotgun approach to throwing all these stops in, and I was worried about all this, you know, the safety aspect of it, and people getting to those stops and walking away from it. And, you know,
does it make sense for you and the staff, and maybe with the mayor's input, to develop a, you know, 1-2 page, this is what we're looking to do, to present it to,
I mean, will they
whoever
listen?
this is? It's like
Yeah.
keeps changing whoever we're talking to, I guess. But we were always criticized because we didn't participate and we didn't have stops. And yet now they're not really, you know, either you're putting them in or you're not, and let's get this, you know, how long is this process going to figure it out taking? So they're going to...
Well, we actually, I mean, it's actually not that difficult. So there's already a remnant of a pad in front of the mobile station.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a stop, they always want to pass the intersection. That would be a good place.
Yeah.
There's a remnant of an old bus stop south of Long Lake, in front of one of those the buildings just south of Long Lake. Those are good. Those are two good stops. A great place to start.
Although you
But how
can't
do you
cross there.
But the main thing is, where do you put the crosswalk?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe MDOT has better ideas, and so we want to talk to them. You know, who's going to study that? Who's going to come up with the you know, what engineer is going to come up with the appropriate study on the safest part to walk across? I don't know. Do you use the light? I don't know. But
Well,
just-
would
there's
the
no way
money
to-
from the millage go towards putting in a new stop
Yeah.
crosswalk? And, you know, they have kind that are lit up when people are going across, and, you know, they're really emphatic and
So our position has always been, we shouldn't have to spend anything, not a penny on any of this.
Right.
Because
It
the
should
the
go out of
residents
that
are already
fund.
paying for it in the millage.
Dirk, is
start out
that
with, at
the
least.
assumption from,
That we're not gonna pay?
yeah,
Absolutely. We've been operating under that assumption from the beginning.
but,
As you say, $1 million is coming from Bloomfield Hills taxpayers with respect to that. It's MDOT right-of-way, so it's not the city's right-of-way, so yeah, it shouldn't be any cost to the city.
so when,
Other than the taxes they're already paying.
okay, that's what I thought. So when, have they, or have we asked the question about when we can expect one stop?
So we did, we asked that question specifically in this meeting that the mayor and Amy and I attended, And Smart made the statement that they like to see this happen in September, but there's a lot to happen.
Okay.
And then one of the main things is, how is this going to be safe?
Right.
And so we're trying to put together a meeting with MDOT because logically we think, and we've kind of talked with a few MDOT people on the phone, the problem is they're kind of passing us around right now. But they're the ones that have to approve the stops. It's in their right of way. They're gonna have to approve the crosswalk and whatever those standards are. On Woodward, it's the road. So we want to talk to them.
Well, and also what each bus stop is going to look like. I mean, could we even get a Cranbrook student competition going for?
So what we thought at first, there's some
Designing them,
standards
or-
to bus stops, and I know we looked this up before, but we believe that the standards right now to start with is just a
Sign.
sign
Sign.
and a cement pad.
Oh, there's no
No shelter
enclosure.
right
I
now.
don't think we meet the criteria for a
Right.
enclosure under Smart's criteria. 'Cause
Under
remember
Smart's
we looked at
criteria.
So it's
those?
just a sign
And a slab.
and a slab.
That's what we think. I mean, under their own criteria, that's what we believe.
So the
and-
only thing is, we have pretty nice landscape beds across the street from some of those
Right,
slabs.
so you're gonna have to cut right through that. Some of it's, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's why is the Dietrich where the light is there the better place to go from the Kingsley?
But it doesn't go on the southbound side. The light isn't on the southbound side.
But MDOT can put a light there, but that takes longer, obviously. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be, and I don't know if they think that Woodward and Long, I mean, maybe they would recommend things and we wouldn't even agree with that. Maybe we would look at that and think that that's wrong. I mean, it seems to me, and maybe the mayor has a different opinion, but it seems to me when we bring up questions and we challenge some of the stuff, they change their position. So it's strange. Yeah.
There's just so many moving pieces. There's the Oakland County people, they're smart. There's this Woodward Avenue Mayor's Group, and then now there's the RTA, who's, they're working for rapid transit up and down Woodward, and they're all sort of talking to one another, but don't know who's really the decision makers.
So is SMART under the umbrella of RTA?
I suppose so, but
Well, the RTA
It's
was
the regional.
formed but never really fully funded, right? Because there were 2 ballot provisions to fully fund the RTA, but supposedly the RTA was supposed to be the umbrella organization over all of them, but it never really, am I remembering correctly, it never really could come about. The 2 systems are too different, their pensions, their labor agreements, everything are too different to merge things. So the RTA is still kind of up there, but instead SMART started to expand. They started doing the rapid transit down to Detroit. So
It seems like Smart's their own entity.
They are.
But
Right.
but Oakland County is managing this money.
Yeah.
So Smart is, going to work through Oakland County to get the money that they need to get, to expand their operations.
SMART is a transit entity that the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority contracted with to provide transportation
Right.
services, and now the county is contracted with to provide transportation services. That's how SMART fits in. So SMART is the entity that's providing the services, but the previous authority, the OCPTA, and now the county is contracted with SMART to provide the services. So that's how it is.
But the RTA that spoke at the last Mayors on Woodward meeting that Amy and I attended by Zoom was the RTA for Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, I believe, and they're advocating rapid transit up and down Woodward from Detroit to Pontiac and putting that sort
yeah,
of.
because there's been 2 ballot provisions that were turned down, and that plan was to, on Woodward in most communities, to eliminate the medians and to put dedicated bus lanes in the medians. I think I would have a hard time believing that that design would ever come to fruition, because you have every community now planting trees in their median. Communities
Yeah.
like Ferndale and Pleasant Ridge are already eliminating lanes to put bike lanes and make things
Right.
more pedestrian friendly. Birmingham's looking at doing that. So I don't know how the RTA really all would fit in that, to do it in the manner in which they had talked about before. But
They're mainly looking for money. They're applying for government grants and that sort of thing. And I mean, it sounded like it was in the very early stages, and no decisions had been made yet. But
So they're still trying to do that?
well, they're still talking about it. I think the man that was speaking was actually a consultant. I looked him up, who has done this in other states. You know, he was talking about different projects that he had
Well,
worked
I
on.
grew up in California. They did do that. They did a
Yeah.
bus lane in the middle of the freeway,
Yeah.
and no one rides it. It's kind of a
Yeah. Well, even the slides
$1 billion mistake.
even the slides that they provided in their presentation, they were using a SEMCOG survey that was done in 2019 for bus usage up and down Woodward. And it wasn't just SMART, it was Q-Line and it was DDOT. Q-Line and DDOT had the vast majority of per day use, people getting on and off. It stopped at Ferndale pretty much. Anything north of Ferndale was just very, very light usage, and that was 2019 before COVID. So I don't know if those numbers have gone up or down. I would think they might have gone down after COVID, since people are working from home more. But clearly, their very own slide showed that Ferndale seemed to be the end point where people were
Yeah.
using buses. But that's not what they're talking about, going all the way to Pontiac. So I don't know what they're.
Is Pontiac pushing for it because they're
No,
changing their
it's
loop?
mostly from the Woodward Avenue Mayors Association group. It's mostly the mayor of Ferndale, the city manager of Birmingham, and I don't know who else. Pretty much those were the two main. And then, of course, there's an MDOT person in charge of it and a SEMCOG person in charge of it. So I don't know.
I believe the mayor of Ferndale used to be the chairman of the OCPTA. I'm not positive, but is her name Melanie Piana?
Yes,
She used to be
she's
the
very
chairman-
vocal.
She used to be the chairman of the Oakland County Public Transportation Authority, so that's
Oh.
not surprised that's the position she's taking.
But I think that's a ways off, more discussion on the RTA. I think
Yeah.
we really need to, focus
On the
more
SMART.
on SMART and what do we want for the city, what do our residents want, and how to make it safe. Where do we want stops and how do we make them safe?
Well,
But maybe at some point, the commission needs to do some kind of principles of, since we end up having to talk to so many different people, maybe we do like a 1 or 2 page principles things. This is what we're looking at, all the things that you've been articulating, that we can hand them,
We can put that together.
Yeah,
We can do something like that.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
I do. I have 2 issues. I'd like to ask Dave and the city to really take a look at our fee ordinance that we have, or the fees that we have for construction. I've had personally 6 people call me in the last 4 months about our fee structure and how much.
I've been approached by 2.
Have you?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's to the point now where I'm thinking, I know we made some changes so that we wouldn't have to go and send bills out, but now we kind of swung too far the other way of charging. They've all said they're doing these projects and they have to pay, $5,000 to Giffords Webster's to sit in front of them and review the plans, and then they got to pay $5,000 to go in front of the zoning and $5,000 to go in front of the planning, and it's a $15,000 no matter what.
That's actually wrong, so.
Well, I mean,
That's-
but I've had
that's-
6 people call and talk about our fees. So what I'd like to propose is, maybe it's something that we need to take a look at.
So we actually are. We're doing an audit, and I think I've asked the staff to take 2 years of every planning commission item and all the reviews that they've gone through, and a cost of each review by our consultants, and the average cost, the high cost, why were the costs high, so we can understand it. I do know we went through a process of charging asking for a $2,500 escrow fee to start with these projects. We found that on average, we were getting into a situation where we were not being able to collect the money to pay our consultants. Actually, Sandra and Amy and I talked about this some time ago. We thought it would be better to raise that. We checked the ordinance, and the ordinance allows us to modify that escrow account so that we can collect the necessary funds. And so we haven't noticed that there's anything that the consultants are doing wrong. Matter of fact, we've actually modified our engineer letters, so those letters are very clear. When we have multiple reviews, we have a policy that we require meetings with the actual engineers and architects and the homeowners. If they want to attend, they should know, so we can help move through the process. But this keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. So I'm frustrated as you are. So I went to the staff and said, listen, we need to do an audit to find out exactly
And
why.
then maybe give us a few examples.
We will.
Because I think it's the simpler projects that are, obviously someone building a house or something like that, that's, I think we all get that, but maybe it's someone who's asking for pillars or something like that, where their escrow is $10,000 to ask for 2 pillars, and I don't know. So
it always starts at 5. We don't charge escrow for planning and zoning. If it's the same address, we only charge 5.
Okay. And maybe some of these residents that are calling aren't being 100% accurate, but maybe we need just to see it a little bit more, so we have more knowledge when people are calling us.
Well, I think the best way to do it is facts.
Right.
It's always good to have facts. And so the best way to do this, as far as I'm concerned and with the staff, is to drill into the data and provide the data. And maybe we'll find something that's inconsistent, that's wrong. Maybe there are opportunities where we can reduce some of those costs. I believe that our cost structure is good. As far as I know, I believe that the escrow is good. But, there may be some room for improvement, but we're going to do an audit and provide all that information to you folks.
Yeah, I think some examples like this, this person asked for pillars in the past year. What was their final escrow? What were they charged finally for all those reviews? And, maybe a couple of the simpler projects and then a couple of the more complicated ones as samples would give us some sense. If you're doing the audit anyway.
The way I was thinking about it is I asked the staff, so look at 2 years of data and just separate all the fence ones, all the the additions, all the pools, and then put all that data together and do some separate
like fence in a side yard, very typical that comes before us. How much are we charging that person? Typically for a fence in the side yard, a pool in the side yard, the pillars, I don't think we're talking about the complicated ones.
No, we're not.
These simpler ones, what are we really charging people? And is that really the time and the cost? I guess we just want to see.
And I don't know if, I don't even know if Amy can comment, but I'm guessing it's actually the Planning Commission is really where a lot of these costs come, for things that go in front of the Planning Commission. It's not through the Building Department. The Building Department still has a review process, and they have to pay for the review process, the consultants. But typically, I'll be honest, typically the problems that we have, there's a lot of things that are required by the Planning Commission, and people have trouble just getting that. They just do. The Planning Commission wants a lot of stuff, and we've learned over time we cannot bring these items to the Planning Commission without very complete packages. So we kick them back. Hey, the package is not complete. We need this, and it's costing these folks money. So what we've also done is we've been very clear on exactly what everything is needed by checklists, communication. we've actually put a lot of time and effort into it, but it's frustrating me too, so I want to audit all this to see what's going on. And we'll provide that information for you.
Okay.
Maybe we'll find ways to improve. There's always ways to improve everything,
Good.
so.
I think that would be great. I mean,
Thank you, yes.
yeah, my own experience was I was doing a $15,000 porch, and if we did letter to the law, it was $15,000 in, you know, escrow. I was like, those are the ones I think that are an issue. We should probably, and part of it too, I get it with facts, but you know, also perception. We don't want our residents who are trying to improve their houses, who are trying to do things, saying you're nickel and diming me or it's costing me too much. So I think somewhere in the middle we probably have to meet.
Sounds good.
My second one I had is I was reluctant about this, and I thought I'd bring it up to the commission. I actually had a neighbor call or text me today in our neighborhood and say, who do I call to remove a dead animal? Fortunately, our director of public safety went out, but it was a fawn that died in their backyard. And they called the city, and the city said, we don't do that anymore.
Oh.
And hung up on them.
I didn't know they ever did that. I paid $250 to have a dead deer removed.
So did I
5 years
recently.
ago.
Yeah.
I paid more than that recently, so the city doesn't do it.
No, they never
But
did.
I don't, my
Isn't
point.
there animal?
We should have, and I
something?
understand if you check the records, I went back and talked to the neighbor, I said, she said, the first time they said, we don't do it anymore, and that was it. Then he called back a second time, and they gave him 3 people to call to do it. I guess my thought was, I agree, if we have a policy or someone to give it to, but I also feel that if we have a resident calling our police department and they're asking for help, I just feel like we should never be turning them away. We should be saying, here are the 3 places, this is, you know, there is going to be a fee for it. Is there something, would you like us to have an officer come out and check or something? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have a lot of wildlife in my backyard. If I had a dead fawn back there and I had to wait 6 hours for someone to come pick it up, that thing would be food for another, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't want to take a look at that. So I just feel that even though we're not picking up dead animals, we should have some kind of
More compassionate.
more compassion for these residents instead of just
alternatives,
saying,
yeah.
call this number and get, you know. So that's different than from the Oakland County with the dogs, right?
Yeah, I can tell you what we do. We do pick up animals in roadways, and if there's a deer in the middle of our street, it's on our property, we're gonna remove that. I don't think we've ever taken deer off property, so I don't know how.
Many years ago, we did take them off of properties, but it became problems with disposing of them, putting them in dumpsters, it became noxious odors. There's laws actually about disposing of animals, proper ways to dispose them. And we have not disposed of animals in many, many years that are on private property.
I would agree with you, Commissioner, that our communication with the communities is paramount.
Oh,
And if for some reason we have not, provided the caring information or advice, then we should correct that, and I'm sure the chief will do that.
I called my veterinarian when the deer died in my yard, and they gave me numbers to call. So if we needed to get numbers, you could call any veterinary.
who do we have, like 3 people?
We have 3 people that people use in the city. We're careful to not recommend. We don't really recommend services. We just tell them these are services. I did review that call, and they gave out A&D, animal control. There's critter control, and there's one other one.
Okay.
That we kind of use, that residents use, that are normal. They come to this community, they have a fee to remove a deer, they'll take them off of, it's common for them to be on a fence. It's not an uncommon thing. And sometimes they also just end up in the yard because they've been hit by a vehicle and run off of the roadway and, lay down somewhere and pass away. So that also happens.
Yeah, I just would feel like, is there any way we can somehow, like, I understand if we're tied up in a medical or we're tied up in.
But I don't think our officers need to go out for it.
They don't have to go out, but if you have an elderly resident who is visibly calling and she's upset about it, or he, we need to be empathetic to our.
We should always be helpful and empathetic. I completely agree, and I know the chief does too. We've already talked about this a couple of times.
Yeah,
He's completely on board.
okay, thank you.
Make sure
I appreciate that. Okay. The only other one I have is, are we watching, lawns being cut and maintained? Is John going through the city?
Yeah, he does. He's got a lot on his plate. He looks for dead trees that are going to fall and hurt or could potentially hurt somebody. He looks for lawns that are against ordinance, which is 7 inches high or whatever.
Yeah.
But
We have, I appreciate that it's an unrealistic expectation that everyone has a manicured yard, right? That's, but, particularly as the summer goes on, you see people that they have landscape beds and they've got like grass and everything like 3 feet tall, things growing out of the beds, and then they have dead tree branches that they don't pick up. But that's actually against our ordinances, right? I mean,
it is, yeah. You can't have weeds higher than 7 inches, and he catches a lot of them, and he gives notices, but
I know.
Yeah.
There's, again, not everyone, the expectation should be that their lawn and yard has to be totally a manicured look, but yeah, when you drive through, you do see some, in some of the construction sites, that are ongoing for 3 years, that don't cut the road, along the road, and it's like the 3rd year going, it gets a little frustrating.
yeah. John's got a lot, does a lot. He looks for, he deals with garbage issues, so, all those complaints go to him. He deals with all the lawn and tree issues. He looks at the construction sites, and so does Brian. We're concerned about tree protection. We're concerned about stabilizing those sites. We're concerned about construction parking. There's a long list that he's. But you guys, when you call us, we appreciate it, because sometimes we don't always see things. But we could, I could ask John to do some of more of a survey of just lawns or whatever in particular, and drive around. And I know he provides notices to folks all the time, and he gets probably 95% compliance when he provides those notices. But he'll miss some now and then, because he can't get through the whole city all the time. So.
Okay, good.
Anybody have anything else?
No, but thank you.
Okay, we're going to move into a closed session to discuss pending litigation with the city attorney. May I have a motion, please, to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to take a roll call vote now. Commissioner McClure?
Yay.
Commissioner Baxter?
Yay.
Commissioner McCarthy?
Yay.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yay.
And myself as a yay. So we're moving into a closed session now. We're going to go into the